Okay. Hello there. Is it Karen?
Yes, it is.
Hi there. I think I've met you, Karen. This is Barry Safe. Did we meet at LavaCon last year?
So you wouldn't have met me of conferences.
I'm sorry, it's hard to hear you. I only got like every other word. Um, but you can hear me, yes?
You wouldn't have, because
You could try typing in the chat.
I'm in
For some reason, I'm not.
Australia. I can.
You can type in the chat window, and then I'll see what you're saying.
Sorry, Barry, I missed all of that.
Oh.
Where's the message board?
Yeah, it probably says chat somewhere. Or type.
Actually, you were clearer then.
Ah, okay. So, okay, well, so I may be confusing you with someone else. You say you're in Australia?
Yes. Yeah. I got the email about this seminar and decided that I'd join it to have a look and see what it was about.
Oh, very good. Okay. And what do you do there in Australia?
So I'm the only person
Yeah, now I can't hear what you're saying, huh?
All of your large, sorry, I'm just being pinged by somebody else at the same time trying to close that down. Just your operator's guides, application development guides, that type of thing. And I'm
now I can hear you. Good.
Also starting work on some mobile apps. Is that better?
That's much better, yes. So are you a technical writer there in Australia?
Yes, I am. I work in a software development center.
Great. And are you on a team of writers or you're the sole writer?
No, there's a team of writers. We have 5 writers split up into 2 separate groups, and we work with writers in India and China as well.
Okay, cool. And where in
separate
Australia?
Teams, but we collaborate with them.
I see. Where in Australia are you?
I'm on the East Coast. Yep, I'm in the East Coast. I'm south of Brisbane by about 2 hours. I actually work remotely for the company that I work for. So I work for Honeywell. So I get to work remotely from home in a beachside town.
That's great. Well, I have never been to Australia, and I've been wanting to go, and I may be there in October. There's a couple different conferences I'm considering going to in October. One of them, I think, is the STC. I forget.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So is that in Sydney this year?
No, they're both in Melbourne. Both the conferences I was looking at are in Melbourne.
Melbourne.
Yeah. So I've never been to Australia, but I read a wonderful book by Bill Bryson. Oh, Melbourne is quite far from you.
Oh, yep.
I see.
It is. So Melbourne would be, by driving standards, about 18 hours.
18 hours? Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I drive, whenever I go back to the office in Sydney, I drive, and it's about about 8 hours to drive down to the Sydney office.
I see.
And
Wow.
it's about another 10 hours from Sydney to Melbourne.
Wow. Yeah, well, when I lived in the United States, I drove cross country 3 times, which takes, depending how you do it, between 3 and 10 days.
Mm.
Yeah, I see. So, so tell me, what interested you about this webinar?
To be truthful, the motivate and empower part of it, I can't, this is terrible, but I can't remember what it was that I saw in your description about it. It made me sign up for it. Caught my eye.
Okay.
And it was probably the globally competitive.
Yeah.
I'm really sorry. It's one of those things where you look at something and go, you know what, I'm just going to sign that, and then you move on to your next thing once you've done it.
Right, okay. Well, so far it looks like you're the only person joining us for this webinar, so we'll, the reason I ask is I can customize it to your interests, but why don't we take a look at the agenda and you'll see what motivates you there. So you're seeing are you seeing my screen?
Yep, yep, so I've got the cover page, yep.
All right, so now you see my face. That's
Perfect.
A little bit about me. I have a lot of experience in tech writing and tech writing management, and I love acronyms, as you'll see. So it's a lot of acronyms I'm going to present, and most of them I made up, so I'm very proud of them. So you're there in near Brisbane, Australia, and I'm here in Tagaytay City, Philippines.
I like them.
So
it started dropping out again, sorry.
What's that?
Sorry, it just started dropping out again. I'm hoping that it's going to stay in there.
Okay. Well, I can hear you fine now. Okay, so let's look at
Oh, good.
Yeah. So I guess in July 5th through 8th, we will be in Dublin, Ireland at LavaCon, and I'll be speaking there. And we have discounts for that conference, but I'm not sure that that's really possible for you.
No, not at this point, it's not.
Well, there's two LavaCons this year. The second one is in Las Vegas, Nevada, in the U.S., October 26th to 29th. And if that's possible for you, we can probably get your discount for that as well.
Okay.
So, okay, so we know where we are. So, do you have any experience in managing a team of writers or leading a team?
Work sites, so she's going.
Say again?
Sorry, you dropped. I am looking at travelling over there at some stage this year with a friend who's going to some work sites. So if it's around that time, I may get back in touch with you.
Okay, good. Yeah, it's the end of October. Yeah. Okay. So are you seeing the questions?
I am. Yep.
And any of them apply to you?
They all ring bells.
Aha.
Yes.
So do you have some management experience? Yes.
So, yes. So management experience without the role.
Yeah. Now I'm only getting like one word out of 5 now.
I work with mentoring them the workload.
I'm sorry, Karen. Could you type your answer in the chat, because I only got a few of the words.
Yep. I'm trying to find the chat part.
Let me see what that looks like. The
Because all I have access to are the slides. It doesn't
how about questions? Do you see a questions thing?
seem to have icon. A question mark. No. What else? All I've got is a camera drop down. Oh. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I typed that. Now she can see. So you see where to type back?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
she found it. Oh, let me try that. Right. Okay, so I just tried muting you and unmuting you, Karen. That may help with the sound. I'm not sure.
Actually, you became clear in your voice, so it's done something. Me?
Okay. So do you see where you can type?
Yep.
Okay. So, because I'm very interested in your experience with management. You were starting to talk about that, and then I couldn't hear.
Okay, so I'm going to try and speak.
Okay, good.
So I have two writers that within Australia, that I mentor and I look after our workload, but I'm not classed as their manager. We have a manager who looks after our team, and he's the person classed as our manager. I also look after, actually, can you hear me saying that?
Yes, I'm hearing you fine now.
No.
Yes, I hear you.
Oh, good. Good.
Oh.
We also check. I'm also as well. Oh gosh. Um, gosh.
Yeah, you know what maybe what we do, since it's just the two of us, is I could call you on Skype and share my screen.
Yep. Let's try that, Barry.
Okay, so
That sounds
let's see.
like a great idea. Actually.
So my Skype, let's see, tell me if you can see this. This is my Skype name. It's just Safe Solutions with no space, because I think that's going to be less common than your name on there.
Yep.
So if you can send me a Skype invite, then I'll call you.
Oh, gosh.
Uh,
Barry, can you hear me?
yes, now I can.
Sorry, the message box has actually gone away,
Oh,
and I can't actually, they've restricted our Skype to only Honeywell contacts.
oh, I see. Ah, okay.
So
So that won't work.
I'd need the
So even if you had my name, you couldn't, because I see you at, are you in Mandurah?
no,
That's Western Australia.
no,
I see a Karen Rolfe in Brisbane.
do this. This is telling us that we shouldn't be having this call.
Really? Yeah, I don't know. So,
No, that won't be me. Because our Skype names are under our Honeywell addresses.
right, it's a Skype for Business.
If you could
Yeah.
try. Yeah, it's a Skype for Business that they've got us using.
Right, so that won't work. Yeah, yeah. We have some of our staff use Skype for Business, but they have a separate personal account because the business one is very limited. Anyway, I can hear you now. We could try this again.
Yeah, I have a separate. So
Yeah, now I'm not even sure.
rare. Remember my use? How about we give it 1? Oh no.
All right, I'm going to try muting you. Let's see. And unmuting. Okay. Oh, she put a, oh, now I can see your questions. Ah, so you've been typing in the questions pane. Now I can see all that. Yes. Ah.
But I can no longer see the questions pane. It's been hidden again.
Oh. Let me see if I can.
Oh, wait a minute. I've got it back up.
Okay.
No.
Okay. I see what you're typing now. Yeah. So. Right. Okay. So, so Karen, maybe I should just go through the slides and you can type things in the questions. And if not, you know, we can also talk another time. Oh, here we go. Now the questions are there. That's weird. Okay. All right. So I'm going to continue. But okay, good. So management is a sacred trust. That's kind of how I think about it. Generally, people don't go into management to destroy careers, but it can happen. So it's important to think about the power that you have as a manager. You can also really have a positive impact on people. And I know tech writers, as you shared, in many cases, you have management responsibility without really having management authority, or you're not exactly a manager, but you're something like that. That's a very common situation. So again, there's a lot of positive things that can result. So I have come up with this acronym CARVE for the 5 key elements of success in management. The first one is caring. And, you know, if you picture this, say a mother in an inner city, maybe she can't afford air conditioning, so the windows are open, the city's very loud, and she can sleep through all that, but her baby cries, she wakes up. So that is kind of the level of caring that a manager is. Access is important for your people and for you having access to your management. Respect is important. We're going to talk more about that later in the later slides. And then there's a series of 4 infographics on our, as you can get on our blogs page, for balance. We'll talk about some of that. Vision is important. We'll talk more about that. And then the last one, expect excellence, because your expectations have a lot of impact. So we're going to go through some of this in a little more detail. So the fundamental way being a manager is caring. There's 4 basic things a manager cares about: the results, the process, the people, meaning the staff and the customers, everyone else impacted, all the stakeholders, and the enterprise, of course. So this is about the power you have as a manager. Sometimes you have to be selfless to a certain extent. As a manager, ideally you're not just enforcing bureaucracy or increasing bureaucracy, but you're focused on the purpose of the enterprise or the organization and fulfilling the mission and the purpose. So that's what this slide is about. And you'll get a link to the slides afterwards. So have you ever thought about management in terms of caring? You can type if that makes sense to you. Okay. And then the next.
Yes, where is it? It's.
Yeah, I only heard a couple words there. Sorry. I don't know why the sound is.
That's okay. No, I said yes, and I was trying to find that little dialogue box keeps disappearing. To type the. I've tried minimizing everything on my screen, and it keeps disappearing.
I'm going to try that. Did something pop up? Yeah.
No.
Okay. Anyway, I'll go on. Yeah, access, right? So many of us, I've been in situations where I couldn't meet with my manager. He had no time, or he wouldn't agree to it. That's very important. Okay, so, and then respect, that's the R in CARV. So this thing about accusing people, now you've had experience working with people in Asian cultures, from what you said earlier, and that's a big deal. I have found people are very sensitive to being accused, particularly in front of others.
Yes.
Yes, and of course, being I find in general this is more of a problem with male managers, but sometimes women too can really get out of hand with the anger. It's as a manager, you really have to control your emotions and not be controlled by them. And then being respectful of yourself, give yourself a break. Do not accept your staff or those above you treating you with less than full respect. And then it says expand the realm of what you consider yourself responsible for, because responsibility is empowering. No one can make you responsible, but the more you choose to take responsibility for, the more impact you have on outcomes, and that can actually reduce your stress. So there's a link there to our blog where there are 4 infographics on the elements of respect. So vision. Without vision, management is damaging. Because if people come to work only to get a paycheck or only because they have to put in their hours and they don't see any larger purpose, they're not going to be working optimally, and then they're not going to be advancing and improving, and the whole situation is damaging. So the key to inspiring people is to be inspired yourself, and to really include people and make sure they understand the bigger picture and how they fit into everything. And then expect excellence. Dr. Wayne Dyer is no longer alive, but he was really well known for this. They've done a lot of research on this. The typical study is where you take two classrooms and one teacher has high expectations of her students, the other does not, and the students perform much better in the first teacher's class because they respond to those expectations. So we can try this, or maybe you and I can have a conversation afterwards another time where we'll hopefully be able to hear each other and we can talk about your management issues. Or if you have that chat window, you could type it. I don't know, but I'll continue. So yeah, okay. No. Let's see. Oh, there are the questions. Okay, good. So trust. Trust is very important. Somebody asked me on one of these webinars about, when does caring become micromanagement? Well, caring minus trust equals micromanagement. That's my equation for this. It's important to have a certain level of trust in people, and to give them some level of autonomy, because that is one of the things that motivates people, which we'll talk about later. And of course, you have to be careful in how you trust and what you trust each person for. So some of that, okay. And then I have a little acronym for trust. Team relationships based upon understanding, sensitivity, and tolerance. And team, we're all on the same team. So that's my acronym for trust. And then also important to management is being. So a very important question for managers to ask is, who am I being? And to get clear on who you are as a manager and a leader. And you can actually create that. You can choose who you're being as opposed to just, reacting. And so I say who I'm being is, I am an authentic, caring, challenging, and dedicated mentor. And so you can actually come up with a statement like that for you that focuses on how you want to be, the important ways that you see yourself being in your role. And I think it's very powerful to focus on being, not on what you're doing, what you're having, what you're saying, but on how you're being. That has a lot of power. So there's some ideas for creating that here. Let's see. And then one thing that it's good to be is authentic. And an authentic manager is an effective manager. And it's something that everyone struggles with, inauthenticity. And, there's all kinds of inauthenticities. And I was thinking about this today. I've been living and working in the Philippines for 5.5 years. And when I first moved here, there were a lot of things I didn't realize I was inauthentic about. And one was I wasn't really listening to people because their cultural differences, I didn't slow down long enough to really understand how people were listening differently and reacting differently to me, and particularly around the issue of anger. I've learned to really tone down my anger since I've been living here, because it doesn't work in this culture. It works fine in the United States. You raise your voice a little bit, nobody gets upset, but here it's a whole different world on that. So learning about yourself is very important. I don't know if you've ever heard of this Landmark Education, and that's their site there. I know they're actually very active in Australia. They're all over the world, but they're really good about helping people to become more authentic. It's been very helpful to me, and I can tell you more about that if you like. Let's see. So we have this case study that was in the handout. It's about This actually happened to me at a company I worked at. I was the doc team leader at that time. And so how we resolved it was, we communicated to understand what happened, what the misunderstanding was, and it turned out, as is often the case, that the tech docs team had more flexibility to change our schedule and get things done earlier. So we compromised, and we were able to pretty much meet their schedule. They didn't have to adjust very much for us. So this is about empowerment, and there's 6 elements here about empowerment. Training, and there's all kinds of ways to provide training. We have quite a few different training programs here at Safe Solutions. Making sure people are heard, treating people with respect, integrity, we're going to talk more about that, vision, we've covered some, and then empowerment, and a lot of that is, demonstrating your trust in people and your belief in them is one way to empower people. So focusing on the I in Thrive, that's integrity. So integrity is very important for managers. It's important to understand the power of your words. Human beings create reality through language. And if you respect your word, others will respect your word in terms of the promises you make, in terms of the things you say, what you say you're committed to, what you say you're interested in. To try to be as accurate with that as possible and to follow through and to take responsibility when you can. And this first bullet here is really crucial, always examining how you might be the source of the problem. And I've found as a manager it's very easy for me, without realizing it, to end up blaming others for my mistakes. So I always need to ask, okay, well, if this person didn't do what I wanted, did I give them really clear instructions, for example? Looking at those kinds of issues. Excuse me. So now we'll go on to motivation. And this is the 4 elements I put together in motivation. And then we got some other slides because I've learned more since I did this lab. But these 4 I think are very important. People need successes. And ideally you want to catch them doing something good. You want to give them things they can succeed at. Because without even any small successes, it's hard to be motivated. People are motivated by learning. Hopefully, if you have the right people, they are motivated by learning and learning opportunities. Everyone deserves and requires accurate feedback, and it should be frequent. People need to know how they're doing. And then praise. People need praise. And of course, it should be accurate. So this 11-minute video, which you can watch at some time, talks about these 3 elements that motivate people: autonomy, mastery, and purpose. So people want some level of autonomy. They want to be able to make some decisions on their own, to have a sense of independence, and that's why micromanagement is often a motivation killer. They also want mastery. They want to get better at something, to be able to master a skill or to make progress in that. And they want a sense of purpose. They want the big picture. They want to be working on something that matters. And then below that, I just added these other 2 ways of looking at motivation, that in general there are 2 kinds of people. Entrepreneurs like myself tend to be toward people. So I'm motivated toward things I want, toward a vision. Many people are mainly motivated away from. So maybe they want to get away from financial insecurity, and that's why they have a job. Or they want to get away from risk. Documentation managers, often they want to get away from risk, and so they try to prevent quality problems. There's nothing wrong with the away from, but it's a different kind of motivation, different orientation. And then this is the last topic we're going to cover, is managing cross-cultural teams. And there's 3 elements here I found are crucial. Number 1, very important, to have a mix of cultures, ideally at each location. And you can see there in the italics at the bottom how that's been crucial for Safe Solutions. It really makes a big difference. A lot of offshore writing companies have a reputation for poor quality, and I think this is a lot of the reason why, because there's a huge difference between having a team of 10 Filipinos and having a team of 10 Filipinos and one American. That one person can make a huge difference. And then often in these outsourcing situations or remote situations, it's not outsourced, they don't include the remote writers in the wiki page or the intranet, on the email lists, in the meetings and conference calls, and then they wonder why the writers don't do well. You have to include people, and you have to have editing, particularly if you have any writers where English is not their first language. Editing is essential, and that's one of the things we insist on at Safe Solutions. We can't have a project that has no editing. And then the last part is really, there's a lot you can learn about other cultures, about your culture, about cross-cultural communication and how to be effective with it. And really it takes getting to know people well and understanding the differences of communication. Often here in the Philippines, when somebody says yes, what it really means is, yes, I respect you and I heard what you said, but I don't understand any of it. That's one example. It can mean other things as well. And particularly in a culture where people are not very willing to say no, when they say yes, it has a variety of meanings. So the responsibility and opportunity management are magnified by a mixture of cultures. And the differing attitudes about authority are important to understand. And yes, if you have this idea that your culture is better, that will not get you very far. That will be a hindrance in your way. All cultures have strengths and weaknesses. So that's really all the content. Now, there was some of the promotion of the webinar that you might have seen mentioned these 7 habits of highly successful technical writers, and that's another one of the blog posts you can find on our site. And you're welcome to send me an email with what your challenges are. We can even have a conversation over email. Here are some resources. You see the 7 habits there. I'm actually working on the advanced 7 habits now. So there's actually 14 habits, and I'm doing a webinar in July for STC in the United States about the 14 habits. Most of these links are to our blog posts, which you can find at safesolutions.com by clicking on blog at the top. And yeah, this is, there you see some of the dates there. And then we have a little bonus slide about stress. It's important to understand what stresses you and how to reduce your stress, and then learn about that for each of your people, how they can reduce their stress. Excuse me, I'm recovering from a cold. So there's a little more info there, and then the 70% off. So if it ends up that you can go to Las Vegas in October, let me know, and we may at that point be able to get you a 7% off discount. We get a limited number of those, so it depends on when you contact me. But I'd be happy to help you in any way that I can. If you want to talk another time about your management issues and any needs you have that we might be able to help with, I'd be glad to do that. And of course, I'll be going. I'm hoping to go to Australia in October, and maybe I'll ask you for some advice about that, because I've never been, and I'm very much looking forward to that. So, Karen, anything you want to say or ask?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. I remembered why I was interested in the webinar. It was the part where you came to managing cross-cultural teams.
Ah.
That was the part.
Okay. So I'll tell you what, Karen, I'm happy
where
to
I'm
talk to you more. I can't hear you anymore.
sitting at the
Yeah, I'm not hearing you anymore, but
being aware
I
in
heard the part
which
where you said that
okay.
you're interested in managing cross-cultural teams in that topic. If you can send me an email with the best number to reach you at, I could actually call you on the phone sometime and we could talk more about that, and I'd be happy to do that, all right? And I think, let me see, I'm going to go back to the screen that has my email. So there's my contact info. There's my email at the top. So yes, if you can send me an email, tell me maybe some good times to call you and the best phone number to use. Hopefully we'll be able to actually talk and hear each other. But thank you very much for participating in the webinar. I'm sorry the sound didn't work so well, but we'll get past that. Okay? So you have a good day. Thanks very much for joining us. Okay.
Thanks, Barry.
Okay. Bye-bye. Okay. All right. She said she'll send me an email.